Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Jason Graystone here. I want to do something a little different in this video because I've had lots of demand and questions come through about opportunities in the market. Do I trade NFTs? Do I trade, am I looking at crypto? What stocks do I pick? What opportunities are there in the stock market? So I thought in the next few videos, I'm going to be going through some stock ideas based on all of that, everything that's kind of a prediction of how the dynamics and we're at the cusp of kind of a shift in lots of environments in terms of business, where we're going into the metaverse, where we're going into VR, crypto, NFTs. And based on that, I want to share with you some kind of fundamental principles when it comes to investing that you can use to go and piece a story together to pick a real solid investment. Now, before I get into this, I'm not going to say any of this is financial advice because it isn't. But I hope that you get some value through me going step by step through what I'm looking at, why I'm looking at it. And in this particular video, I'm going to be going through one stock, and it is to do with virtual reality. Now, Facebook have just changed their name to Meta. They've announced they're going to develop this whole virtual reality world, and we've been doing lots of testing with the Oculus and the VR in our team to see what innovations and what opportunities there are in terms of the digital space and the virtual reality space and augmented reality, and it's exciting. Now, the first company that I'm going to talk to you about is a company called Matterport. Now, you might have heard of Matterport, and Matterport basically is a company that specializes in creating digital 3D spaces. So you might have seen them on a real estate or a venue or a hotel or some kind of website where you can do a virtual tour. You click on the 3D model, you zoom into the room, and you can walk around the 3D space. When I had a bricks and mortar business back in the day, we actually used Matterport to build out virtual rooms so that we could do training for engineers and things like that. And it was great technology. And back then it relied on a big camera. Someone had to come out and scan the room for you, and then they'd go and render the room, and then they'd produce the product for you, and then you could display it on your website and things like that. So you can imagine that walkthroughs of buildings and hotels and venues came in very popular during the pandemic. Now, Matterport has actually been going since June 2011, which is over 10 years. And last year during the pandemic, back in July 2021, they announced that they were working closely with Facebook to develop a digitalized global map. And their goal was to produce the biggest, almost like a Google Maps of virtual reality landscape. And of course, at the moment, virtual reality is very computerized, and it's kind of, you get the kind of computerized avatars, but the plan for the future will be to become much more realistic than that. And Matterport can play a massive part in that. Matterport actually say that there are 20 billion spaces available to create in 3D, of which 4 billion buildings could be captured and rendered and produced into digital 3D formats. Now, if you just took that information and you said Matterport were going to charge 50 cents for every building, that would mean that annually they would turn over $140 billion. So the opportunities in the business is incredible, especially now they're working with the likes of Facebook. What also happened to the share prices since July 21 is they just rocketed. They've been going up and up and up since last summer, which is an indication that investors are on board with this idea. Now, this company is only 10 years old, and dependent on the amount of qualitative and quantitative information that I can gather from the company, from the financial records, will depend what strategy I use and where it sits in my allocation of investments, from low risk value investing right through to high speculation. And I have different strategies for different stocks and different investments, and I can allocate a different portion and percentage of my total liquidity to that asset depending on what criteria is met. So for instance, if the financial data isn't available to me for as far back as I'd like, then I may use some technical analysis as well to get in at a better price. I may also reduce the amount of capital that I can put into that investment, or instead of holding for 10 years, I may hold for 5 years. But before I get into all that and show you Matterport, I just want to mention one other thing in terms of where this space is going. So let me show you something quite cool with the iPhone. If you guys have got an iPhone 12 or higher, you'll see that this little camera feature on the back, you'll see this round black dot. Well, that is a 3D scanner on your phone. Now, there's plenty of 3D scanning apps that you can check out online, and you can go and have a go at some of those, and they're pretty good. But what it means is potentially every time that you take a video, of anything, whether you're putting it on Instagram or Facebook, or maybe you're just saving it to your camera roll, potentially you're scanning your entire environment, which means that there's a library growing organically that people are volunteering in, and literally millions and millions of videos and landscapes and digital 3D landscapes are getting uploaded every single second. Now, what does that mean for Matterport? Well, Matterport were a company that relied on tangible property, plant, equipment. They had a camera, they had some tangible things that they had to go out and set up. And only when you use those things can you get a return on the money, because you needed to, it was a kind of, you had to invest in all the property, plant and equipment to build the revenue to grow the profits. Now, Matterport have got their own app on the iPhone, which does exactly the same thing. In fact, just now I went around and scanned my whole office here, and now there's a 3D model of my office uploaded to the cloud. So what that means is the overheads come down, the property, plant and equipment costs come down, making the business much more efficient, because the cash that they use on the income statement can be used much more efficiently. So the return on the invested capital for investors is much higher, which means they're able to offer a greater margin of safety, which means they're able to offer a greater earnings yield to investors. No wonder the price is going up in the stock. Now let's take a look at the technicals of Matterport. Now, because Matterport doesn't have some of the historical financials that I'd like to see, and it's quite a young company in terms of value investing, here's where I will reduce my risk and my allocation of my total liquidity to this investment, but I'll also be able to use some additional filters such as technical analysis. And if you've built up a skill of using technical analysis, although I don't recommend you use it for value investing because you're looking to hold investments for 10 years plus, if I'm looking to hold for a maximum of 5 years, then I can implement some technical analysis to potentially get in at a good price, or give me a confirmation bias that now is a good time to get in. With everything that's gone on in the news recently, and all of COVID and all of the people shifting their money into different asset classes, some of the asset classes have become inflated, means there's not a lot of value in them. So it's always good to see where price matches value, and that's what I'm going to be using the technicals for here. So you can see back in July 2021 is really where this started to take off. We saw mid-July, we saw the market rally when Facebook and Matterport announced their partnership, and then ever since we've been booming, we've been rocketing up, and we've seen the shares price rise up to $37. Now, at the moment, we're on a bit of a pullback. So if we bring on a trend line here, you can see immediately that we are right on that pullback. You can also see that if we bring on a horizontal line, you can see that if we bring in at where the market was trading, you can see that we're also at a major level of previous structure resistance. And you can also say that this is resistance here. Again, these levels aren't exact prices or exact, pinpoint prices, but they are general areas as to where there was protection in the market, where we saw a sell-off, and then where we broke through. You can see where we broke through, we had this gap open. Whenever we break through a major level of resistance or support, we see a big momentum candle or a momentum move that ensures the breakthrough. What happens next is we see a rally to the upside, and you can see we're just testing that level now. So previous resistance should become support. We've got a nice pullback in the cycle. We had cycle 1, cycle 2, cycle 1, cycle 2, and we're down at that support level now, which means if we can see confirmed signs of deceleration, and we're likely to continue, then this is not a bad area to look at getting long. And even if you're value investing, we're in a pullback now, so you're not trying to bottom pick or anything like that, but you're looking for a better price as to when it was a bit overinflated back in October, November time. So great price. $22, $23 a share. This is definitely a stock that I'm going to put some money into. Based on my total overall liquidity and my risk management, I can put about £5,000 into this right now, because I'm also allocating around 25,000 to other stocks as well. So I'll be sharing those in the next videos. If you've got value from this, or you want to see more videos like this, let me know in the comments. And just lastly, Apple have been very, very quiet on the VR front, and that's usually their tactic. They're going to be plotting away in the background. They're going to announce some new VR headset that's going to blow everything else out of the water. It's going to be very sleek design. It's going to be amazing. And as soon as Apple get on board and Facebook are on board, and it's head to head, because there's politics between those two. There's some kind of childish playground name throwing and things like that between those two. then I can only see this scaling. So in a nutshell, guys, as I said, there's not enough historical financial data on this particular stock for it to be considered a high long-term value investment for me. Currently not paying a dividend either, but is it a simple business model? Pretty much. It's 3D modeling. Everyone understands that. Do I use the product myself? Yes, I have done in the past. I've got the app on my phone. I've used the product. I know how it works. Was it selling the same product 10 years ago when it started? Absolutely. Is it likely to be doing this in 10 years from now? Absolutely. Does the customer need to repeatedly subscribe to the services? Well, Facebook, Apple, maybe Google. That's where it's going to have the pulling power for now. And it's definitely a stock that I'm happy to invest in. So until next time, guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this video around, and I'll be doing a lot more like this coming up in the future. So take care, and I'll see you then.